What's up, rum punks? This is the famous steak and potato recipe. Alright, so for this one, make sure you wash your hands, okay? I already washed mine. Make sure you wash your hands. Right here, we just got some beef petite sirloin steaks. This is pretty much the cheapest like steak that you could buy. I just go to Winco, you know, not a sponsor. You could do it with any steak. I'm actually gonna do it in a week or so with some grass-fed, grass-finished ribeyes. But today, you know, we just got the classic petite sirloin. All right, so for steaks, I like to keep it pretty simple. So I'm actually just gonna do some sea salt that I have right here, garlic and black pepper. Super simple. If you wanna even just go salt and pepper, more power to you. I like to keep it pretty basic right here. Pat this in a little bit, flip it, and then we'll do it on the other side as well. And now we utilize the handy dandy Minnesota plate. Alright, so we've let our steaks sit and rest for a little bit. We have the seasoning on them. So it's been sitting here for about 5-6 minutes or so, getting a little bit closer to room temp. Now there's a lot of fat here, so you don't need that much oil. We're gonna actually add butter to it a little bit later, but for right now you just need a little bit just to kind of prevent it from sticking and burning real bad. So we're gonna go ahead and lay these in here. You wanna get a nice hot skillet so you can get that sear. So as soon as you set them in the skillet right here, we're gonna drop it down to about mid-temperature. Don't touch it, don't mess with it. Let it chill and do its thing until you start to see a crust start to form, or probably about 4 or 5 minutes or so. Alright, so it's been chilling for a while. You can kind of see, it's kind of hard to tell. The main thing you can do is hear a difference. It started to sizzle a little bit less. The sizzling has calmed down. You can start to see a little crust film right here. We want to keep that going right there. We're going to turn the heat down just a little bit more, and now we're going to add butter to it. Okay, so for these 3 steaks, we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of butter right here. We'll just throw it in the center. We're going to take some dried rosemary and sprinkle this on here. Now you want a nice big spoon. Now we're going to baste the steaks in the butter. So what we're doing here is we're adding fat, yes, and we're adding the flavor from the butter. So we're gonna drizzle this over the steak, and on that crust right there, it's gonna give it that nice buttery flavor. It'll help some of this to seep into the steaks right here. So bring that one down. So we're just tilting the pan at an angle, scooping the rosemary butter and throwing it on top. And the main thing this does is the butter starts to brown in the pan, where you start to get brown butter. And that's super flavorful. It gives it a nuttier, darker, roasted kind of flavor to it. So as it browns, we're just pouring it over these steaks. Keep this on medium-low heat, and we'll let this chill out and come back and baste it and flip it a couple more times until we have that nice, beautiful crust on both sides. And then if you want it more done, by the time we finish, it'll probably be rare. I like my steak pretty rare to mid-rare. If you want it well done, I would just throw it in the oven after that. 5 more minutes in the oven after, and you should be good to go. The cool thing is you can see the doneness still kind of on the side of the steak. And just like with the chicken, you just gotta feel it out, and you can kind of feel the doneness that way as well. So I've flipped this over 2 times now. I got a nice good crust on both sides, and I'm basting it in the butter, and you can see as you're pouring it over, you can see the butter sizzling into it. That's helping to re-fortify that crust, make it thicker, and make the flavor just better right here. I'm gonna let it finish in the pan. Let it sit here in the butter in all of this for about 5-6 minutes or so. And then we'll transfer it onto a cutting board and let it sit for another 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll cut into it. That's crucial, because if you cut into this steak right now, it'll be flavorful, but it'll get very, very tough. By letting it sit and rest, you're letting all of these juices and all the butter and everything that's kind of flowing and moving around to settle and stop, and all the juices settle inside of the meat, so that when you cut it over, it stays nice and juicy and flavorful and tender, and it doesn't get all tough. This is how you can make a cheap cut of steak, which is what this is. Tastes super fancy and super tender. As our steak is cooking, we're gonna go ahead and chop up some onion and mushrooms for a nice caramelized onion mushroom mix that we'll put on top of the steak. Alright, so we cleaned off our handy dandy Minnesota plate. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out of the pan. Let these rest for another 5-6 minutes. While these are resting, don't toss any of this. All of this is delicious juice right here. What we're gonna do is throw those onions and mushrooms in here and saute them in here. So go ahead and turn the heat back on. You could go ahead and throw it on high heat, and then we'll throw our onions and mushrooms in there. While our onions and mushrooms are cooking, I have some potatoes we washed right here. We're gonna really simply just cut these in half and throw them in the microwave. Cook them in the microwave until they're soft. Usually about, for 2 potatoes, 6-7 minutes. Alright, so we've let this go for about 10 minutes or so. Just kind of on medium heat in the pan. Flipping it every now and again. So these look pretty good. You can let them go further and get more caramelized onion flavor, but this right here is how I like to do it. So we'll just cut the heat and these are finished right here. Alright, we got our potatoes here. So now what I'm gonna do is just kind of smash them a little bit with the palm of my hand, or you can use a spoon or something like that. We're just trying to get them a little bit flat. We're gonna take our pan, throw a little bit of oil in there, let that get nice and hot, and we're just gonna give them a nice quick little sear. Just kind of a rustic smashed potato to go with the steak. Alright, so we just took the potatoes off the pan. Just got a nice little sear on them. We're gonna finish them. A little bit of salt, a little bit of that same rosemary, and paprika. You can add black pepper or garlic if you want, but I'm gonna leave it plain just like that. Alright, now your steak dinner is just about done. So I have a handful of spinach right here. I'm just gonna give a nice little rough chop on this. I like wilted spinach, but the heat from the steak and the potatoes will wilt it over time. So we're just gonna put these out on the plate. Throw a couple of these potatoes right there on top. Take our steak right here. Get some nice cuts and strips out of that. And take this, throw it on top just like that. Layer these out. Take our mushrooms and caramelized onions right here. Put some of that right on top. And for the last final little bit, we're gonna make a quick honey mustard sauce. So here I just have any kind of vinegar. I like apple cider, but I just happen to have rice vinegar right here. So we're gonna do a little bit of rice vinegar, some honey, and then some spicy mustard, and then French's classic mustard. Make the fart noise. If your mustard don't make fart noises, take it back. We're gonna mix it up and we're gonna throw it on top.